Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Rainer and this is Rainier Books, and this is the fourth take of this video. Well, hello BookTube. I have not done a tag video for quite a while on this channel, but I wanted to try this tag that I discovered on Alyssa's excellent and beautiful channel Nerdy Nurse Reads, and that was originally created by Lindsay at Lindsay's Little Library. I will also provide for you a list of 14 other amazing booktubers who have done this tag, most of them 4 years ago, down below in the show notes. So this is, get ready for the Dilemma of a Book Nerd tag. And here are the prompts, starting with number 1. As always, book storage. How do you store and organize your books? Well, that is a good question, but it is not yet a problem for me. It's not a dilemma for me. It was before, though, in the good old days when I lived in Germany, in Aachen or in Mönchengladbach. I was still a student at the university in Aachen. Most of the books that I bought were pocket editions, and the biggest bookseller in Aachen had their so-called pocketbook days twice a year. They had that. They simply stamped the books down here with a stamp that said defective copy, and they reduced the price by like 70, 80 or 90%. And believe me, we bought masses of books. When I started living abroad and working abroad, first in the Russian Federation in Siberia, then in Finland, and finally in Sweden, a lot of the books that I had, and I moved in Sweden a couple of times, got simply lost. And when I moved into my new apartment here in Farsta 3 years ago, I bought a beautiful Billy shelf from IKEA, and now storing works quite fine for me. Organizing is another thing. The books were organized in fiction and non-fiction, but recently I wanted to separate them by read and not read yet, and right now it is a mess, I have to confess. I will have to think of something new, something different for organizing my books, and let's see how that will work out. Dilemma number 2 is tracking. How do you keep track of what you have read and what you own? Well, this is also a very good thing. I use both Goodreads and Storygraph. Goodreads has emerged, quite a long discussion have emerged around Goodreads. We'll come back to that in another video maybe. So I've keeping track of reading books by these two sites. Goodreads, which I have used quite a long time, since 2016, 2017. The books that I own, well, for them I have no file on my computer. I probably should make one where I have all the things, but the biggest problem is the Kindle, where I store more than 150 books in that small and smart and black device. There, it can actually happen that I have books on the Kindle and I buy them, a hard copy of them later, not knowing that I already owned it. So this is a good question. I have to make a list of all the books that I own in 2024. Dilemma number 3, borrow. Do you lend your books out? I do that quite rarely. I don't have many colleagues around me at work or friends who actually read regularly in English. In my daily work, there are at least 2 colleagues, I think, who read a lot of German literature in German for their work, so they don't have the time to read other stuff with everything else that's going on in their lives. Actually, I would love to give some books away regularly to someone who's interested, because I do not want to keep every book. Dilemma number 4, buying. How do you buy or acquire your books? That is not a dilemma, but until 2 years ago, I bought quite a lot of books, mostly from the UK. Before Brexit was executed to 100%, I mean the time when the UK wasn't a member of the EU anymore, but rules and benefits were still applied to consumers, to me, I bought used books in England online, and also I bought books at Blackwell's online or at Amazon, I have to confess that. But then books ended up at customs here in Sweden, and I had to pay extra fees for them, and I didn't like that, so I stopped that. Said bye-bye Britain, bye-bye Brexit. In January 23 was my last visit to London, and I also went to Baggins Book Bazaar outside London in Rochester, and of course I bought a couple of books there. Otherwise, I have a Swedish website now that delivers more or less all titles to okay-ish prices, and they do not charge for postage, which is obviously wonderful. Dilemma number 5, comments. How do you respond to the "How do you read so much" comment or similar kinds of comments? Well, I would say in the beginning of this prompt, I would declare I do not read so much. Last year, I averaged a modest number of 42 pages per day, and I know that I have colleagues here on BookTube who read more than a novel every single day. Otherwise, when I tell colleagues and friends that I read like 52 books per year, they always go, "How do you manage to do that?" And when I also talk to them and about TV shows or podcasts that I have heard, that I've listened to, or other YouTube videos about the state of the world, or my women football activities, my interviews with women football players, well then, you can imagine. The best answer that I should give them, that I've never given to them, is that I have no other life. These things are fun and these things are interesting. So, dilemma number 6 is next book. How do you pick your next read? Well, I again have to say I have made TBRs, and I will certainly make 1 or 2 or 3 TBR videos even this year. But I'm so bad in sticking to these plans to the point that I get so easily distracted by my ever-changing moods. But don't worry, I'm not a grumpy, a moody old man. I try to be kind and I try to be nice. However, recently, about 2 weeks ago, I made a plan that I will read from the shelves and from the Kindle. So hopefully there will always be a shelf book this year for me, and always be a Kindle book, and also be an audiobook among the things that I currently consume. Let's see how that is going to work out. Dilemma number 7. How do you pick what books you bring on vacation with you? Travel is the key word here. Well, that depends on the kind of travel. That depends on where I am going. Of course, I would not take a 500 pages book when I go to the United States, to Canada, to Japan, in a physical copy with me. It should be a little bit slimmer, maybe 400 or less pages, maybe. Or if I make a long trip overseas, if I sit 10 hours on a plane, I would stick to the Kindle and download audiobooks if that is possible with my current provider. I have to check that out, actually. Dilemma number 8, annotate. Do you write or highlight or mark up your books in any kind of way? I sometimes do that, yes. Sometimes I want to quote from a book in my reviews here on BookTube, and in order to find it can happen that a page gets dog-eared. Sometimes when I have a text marker, I might color a text passage, so that happens absolutely, yes. Number 9, new or backlist? Which do you prefer? New releases or backlist books? So many channels here on BookTube that I follow the Booker Prize, for example, and they read obediently every single book of each year's long list. I've never done that, and I will never do. But I had a tendency of focusing a lot on books that were published, like say now in 23 or in 22, and 2021 would have been really old. But the times they are a-changing, and that's the same with music, this song by Bob Dylan. There are so many new albums out there every week that there's a danger of wanting to keep up with new stuff that you lose the oldies out of your sight, the oldies that are goldies, the classics that are just so beautiful. I admire channels who do not care the least to the new books trend, who just read what they want. And yes, they also find their viewers, they also find their subscribers and commentators. Do your own thing. And I have started that a little bit. I read Robert Stone's Dog Soldiers from 1973, and the last book that I actually finished was The Quiet American by Graham Greene from 1956. I will try to do more backlists and hopefully also have time for some exciting new releases, but we are human, or are we, dancer? So you never know. Dilemma number 10, sequels. Do you read books as they are released Do you read books as they are released, or do you wait for an entire series to be published before reading one book? I read very few sequels, very, very few. Yes, I read Michael Connelly's crime novels with his heroes, Harry Bosch and Mickey the Lincoln Lawyer Holler, but these books are not sequels to me. They just happen to continue the lives of these characters, and mostly every book leads them to new cases. But let me put it this way. If I read sequels, which I don't do, and loved a series, I would probably not wait until the whole series is published to read them. I just would read them one by one. Well, that was it already. That was the dilemma tag, which was actually everything but a dilemma. It was fun doing this. I see you soon on the channel. If you are subscribed, you won't miss out on anything new coming from Stockholm, Sweden. In the winter, it's cold outside, it's dark outside. Yeah. Have a great day. À bientôt. Au revoir. Tot ziens. Auf Wiedersehen. Hey do. See you. Bye bye.